What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Marketing Lot, a show dedicated to teaching real and powerful marketing tactics directly from the business leaders using them right now to change lives and become more successful. My name is Brian Hatch, marketing automation expert and founder of Automate Big, sponsor of The Marketing Lot. What a great episode we have for you today. Our guest today is one of the most purposeful people that I know, and he's followed his passions, and in his life has helped really build up other people. I really love our guest today, and you're going to learn a lot from him. So Jared Greer founded Greer Method in 2018 to provide complete coaching by experienced life and business coaches throughout the entire coaching experience. Greer Method serves executives, entrepreneurs, and business owners by helping create and solidify healthy habits, implement effective strategies, and avoid burnout and complacency. Jared is a 7-time Ironman finisher, ultra marathoner, and marathoner. Above all, Jared is a husband to Melanie and a dad to 4 beautiful children. Jared Greer, welcome to The Marketing Lot.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for having me. That's a great intro. I appreciate that.
Well, I definitely love you and have been able to witness your leadership over the many years. And so what have I not said that maybe the audience needs to know about you? Is there anything else you'd add?
No, I think that summarizes it pretty well. I think from our methodology, we just found that the primary problems persisted. People were inconsistent. People lacked the necessary tools to be correct, the necessary approaches and strategies to be correct, or they lacked the level of control that they required to be intentional, to put in the right amount of effort. And so that really is what the Greer method is helping our people to be consistent, be correct, and be controlled. And that's how we beat that overwhelm. That's how we beat that roller coaster of performance where we're doing really well one month and then we're, back down in the dumps the next month. Or it helps us break through that plateau of, man, how do I just get through the ceiling and get to that next level of performance?
Absolutely. I love the coaching world. There's a ton that is done good for the world. And I like the fact that nowadays coaching isn't so out there or in left field or kind of like what are you talking about? Coaching has become more of a mainstream. You need help. Like everybody needs to have someone to be able to guide and direct them. So definitely glad for your perspective, glad for your experience to be able to join here today and talk about some marketing principles. In particular, the topic that we're going to be discussing today is Chum the Trail. So I love the way that that's described. So tell us a little more about how do you define, what would you explain more about Chum the Trail? What is that to you?
Yeah. So marketing, I think for any small business owner, and we're a small business, there's always the challenge of marketing. Marketing in general is, and what I've come to realize in my tenure as a small business owner is that it's just not something you can ever say, okay, it's figured out, it's packaged, put it on the shelf and be done with it. And so I found myself in this place of trying to figure out what are the right levers to pull to be able to bring in a predictable flow of clients. And at a particular time, I was kind of in this place where I was just getting frustrated, not seeing the results and not really being able to look at my client base and say, okay, here's where they're coming from. And I had a conversation with a tech CEO actually, who used to be into marketing. And he just shared with me this concept of creating a chum trail. And he said, listen, when you go out and you go shark fishing, they'll always chum the waters. And everybody knows, right? You dump the fish guts in the water and that creates kind of a chum slick, right? Well, the boat keeps going and the current grabs all of that chum and it stretches it out in some cases for miles. And so any shark who crosses that path of chum will follow inevitably that chum trail all the way to the to the boat where shark fishers are, people who want to swim with sharks or what have you. And so that concept then kind of translated over into marketing where you essentially create that chum trail, not ever calling clients or potential clients chums in any sense of the word, but really having this long trail of good value adding content that allows the people who are looking for it and interested in it to catch a whiff and then follow that path toward you, just to put it kind of in a nutshell.
Well, I love, you didn't call them chumps, chum.
I
So
know,
we're good.
I
We're
know.
good. Like, you definitely don't want to call anybody chumps. And whether your clients or audience is sharks, that's for anybody to decide themselves. But
Right.
so that's a great concept. Tell us a little more about, like, how do you do that? How do you create an experience where people can follow a trail back to you? Like, how would you do that?
Yeah, I think it's almost more what we need to break through to create it. So at this particular time, I was really kind of worried about, like, I have not figured this out. I've been in business for almost 4 years and I haven't figured this out. And I want to know where my clients are coming from. And I want to be able to just predictably build them and get them right. And as I evaluated this after hearing this concept, it made me think about where my clients have come from. And in particular, one client stood out who had seen a video that I had posted probably 6 months before, ran into me at the gym of all places and said, "Hey, I think I saw you on LinkedIn. You did a video. I'm interested in getting some coaching." So I was like, "Okay, cool. Yeah, let's have a conversation." We sit down, we go to lunch. I actually didn't even coach him. I told him, "Hey, I'm not right for you. We weren't a good fit. I couldn't help him in the ways that he wanted help." And didn't really think anything of it, right? Well, fast forward about a year later, he comes up to me. I still see him at the gym pretty regularly. We had built kind of that relationship. He had seen something else that I had posted on LinkedIn, and he comes up to me at the gym and he says, "Hey, I'm actually the VP of this company, and I've got 8 executives who report to me, and I'm thinking about doing some coaching for them." So we start having conversations, and it ends up being the biggest deal that I had ever sold to date. And so what I love about this example is I'm evaluating this, I'm thinking, he saw a video a year and a half ago that kind of kept him on the trail, so to speak, where he was watching what I was doing, watching what I was posting. And then ultimately it brought me this really great opportunity. I caught the shark, so to speak, right? And so how do we do that? I think you've got to keep putting value out there. You've got to keep chumming the trail with all of your value. And I feel like there's a lot of businesses right now that they're saying, well, we don't need a blog, we don't need a podcast, we don't need a live show or all of these things. And that might be true. You may not need those things, but they serve as that value adding that creates that trail that people can come across it, whether through a forwarded email or through a video that just randomly popped up. And then they can start to follow and they can start to then learn from the value. And if it's really good, then they learn from it and they follow it and they want more. And that ultimately leads into, this really great opportunity.
Awesome. So that piece of content that you gave to this guy, or that he found, I should say, when he found that, do you recall what it was? And if you don't recall that specific one, how do you create value? Because that's where I feel like everybody feels like they're an expert on something, and I don't know that everybody is. I'm not saying now everybody's unique and valuable human being. I definitely believe that, but I don't think that everything everybody shares is valuable. So how do you create value in your content then, Jared?
Yeah. So I think that for me, I have to give what I deem as valuable myself. And I have to, I think as a small business, especially when you're selling, coaching, then there's almost a tendency of like, well, I want to be secretive about what it is I'm teaching. I want you to come to me with the problem and then I give you this solution and then you're happy. Instead of me giving you what I think is the solution before I even know your problem in order for you to come to me. And that was a big paradigm shift where, so in this particular instance, I had taken clips out of an interview that I had done and I had posted them, just real short little, bits of advice or guidance. And I had started posting those like really like crazy. And that's what he had seen. And so it was, when we think about something that's valuable, we've got to acknowledge that the majority of people just aren't going to care. And that's okay. So we have to say, what am I passionate about? What do I love? And then we've got to put our whatever we deem as valuable out there, and know and trust that people who need it, people who see that type of content as valuable, will find it, and they'll follow that. So I think we've got to determine as business owners and individuals, what do you think is valuable? Put it out there, and not worry about, well, that didn't get any likes. I guarantee if we went back to that video that this guy found, I mean, there's probably right now today, maybe 5 likes on it, right? Maybe 2 comments. It's not something that went viral and blew everything up, but it was valuable to him. It got him on the trail, and he was able to ultimately find his way back to me.
Well, that's one of the principles I think is very interesting is, for a lot of like solopreneurs that are the workhorse in their business, that are kicking butt and working to get their name out there and build and grow their business, they post and they might feel like it's valuable, and they've done their best, like you said, like to your point, like put out what you feel like is valuable and helpful, but then they don't see the likes, they don't see the comments. And so a lot of times people then quit, they stop, they say, wow, I've busted my butt to get this thing going. I've done whatever it is, right? Like everybody has their own story. Like I had to do this lighting thing, I had to get this camera, I had to do all this stuff. And they're like, I did all this work for like 12 days in a row, 12 whole days, so many days. And I'm frustrated that I don't have 300,000 likes yet.
Yeah.
But what do you say to that person, Jared? You've had a success story here and likely others, but what do you say to that person that's like, dude, I've been putting my nose to the grindstone and it ain't working, it ain't doing anything?
Yeah. So I say what I started to say at the very beginning of all of this. It's almost more important to look at what's keeping us from putting that out, right? Because I think it's that we interpret that number of likes, or lack of number of likes, or lack of it going viral. We interpret that as rejection. We interpret that as loss. We interpret that as something painful that didn't work. And so it's that interpretation that then causes us to stop trying, stop putting it out there. And I am guilty of this too, because I get to a point where I'm like, man, nothing is getting traction. And I stop, and I have to remind myself of this Chum Trail. And I have to remind myself of all of the times where I run into somebody at the store or at the gym or, at church, for goodness sakes. And they say, hey, you know what? I saw that you posted this article, great article. And of course, like every entrepreneur or small business owner, they're cataloging, well, you didn't like it, you didn't comment on it, you didn't share it, right? And so but that happens. So many people are engaging without really engaging. And if it's valuable, they're seeing it, they're following it. And so recognizing that it's just something you've got to keep putting out there that creates that trail, measuring not success by the number of likes, the number of even deals won, but really measuring it by, did I do it? And in our coaching practice, we like to focus on inputs versus outcomes. If we measure based on outcomes, we are going to never do anything. We have to measure based on our inputs. So if I put in the effort and I put it out there, even if it was terrible in the eyes of 90% of the people or 99% of the people, that's a win, because I did it. I put it out there. And that type of repetition then leads to doing things correctly, which is a big part of our model as well. That then leads to a higher level of intensity, which then will probably produce more results. But it's that, you got to get past that. Well, I'm measuring this based on likes, shares, comments, and deals, and this had 0, so it must be a failure. That's just the wrong way to look at it.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Marketing Lot. And I hope you'll use those tactics to implement them right now to help make your business more successful. Now today I have a special free gift for you just for watching this episode, and I want to make sure that you have it. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of people, a lot of business owners out there that are struggling with their message, with what to say, how to say it, and they're also struggling with who are they talking to, who are the audience, do they really understand who their customers are, who their audience is. And so I have this course that I've created that's called The Ultimate Guide to Your Audience and Message. And what it does is it goes through a number of things to help you dial in your audience and dial in your message. It's a $97 course. I'm giving it to you absolutely free just for joining us here on the Marketing Lot. And so if you use this promo code right here at the bottom and jump onto this next page, click the link, you'll actually be able to go and get this course absolutely free. I can't get better than that. It's free. It's $97 off of a $97 course. So jump in, use this promo code, and then we'll be able to see you inside of the Ultimate Guide to Your Audience and Message so you can dial it in and be more successful in your marketing. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thank you. One of the things I want to at least point out for the audience that's listening and watching here is that most people are watchers. Yeah. And that doesn't mean they're not engaged. That doesn't mean, but they're watchers. And I don't remember the name of the movie, some movie, like, are you a watcher or are you a player? Watcher or player, watcher, player. And someone will be able to tell me what the name of that movie is. But there are a lot of people that go through that see what you've said, even watch the video, but don't like, don't share, don't comment.
Yeah.
I mean, like you can see, if you've been able to look at your own videos, you can see hundreds, if not thousands or hundreds of thousands of views on a video. And then the likes and comments and shares won't be that significant compared to the number of views. It's because a lot of people watch it. So how do you put out something that engages like this executive? How do you put out something that like to a lot of people may not have resulted in like, comment, or share, but got him to like something moved him?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Again, I think that goes back to the perceived value, right? Like I have no illusions of the reality that people might look at my content and see that it's, cobbled together. It might at times feel a little bit cut up, and it might not be what they want or what they're looking for. And so when I think about value, I have to really look inside at my business and the results that we claim to be able to produce and the ways that we have demonstrated that claim and that ability, and just trust and put it out there and recognize that one single video or one single, quote is just a single brick in that wall or that steps that we're trying to build. And so I try to put my all into it, but at the same time, I don't hold myself to a expectation of perfection. I hold myself to an expectation of persistence and being persistent in putting content out there versus being perfect in putting it out there. So I try to make sure that the value that I'm giving is some of the answers, some of the solutions that I offer and that I teach within our programs and within our coaching model, so that people can start to get flashes of it where they're like, hey, that actually worked. I went home, I tried that, it worked. And as I've done that, then I've seen people following that Chum Trail a little bit more and staying with me a little bit more.
Yeah. One of the principles that comes apparent to me in this topic is that people are going to engage with what they see, but it's very unlikely they're going to see everything you post.
Right.
You said like initially you're worried about like giving the secrets away, like giving like the big stuff. One of the things I teach is that give them away. Now, I get that you may not be able to give away your paid program for free or whatever you're doing, but like give real, true value, because the only person that's going to see everything that you shoot, everything that you put out is you and or your team, not the people that consumed it. The person that consumes your piece of content this time may miss your next 7 times you put it out there. So they didn't get the other 7 principles of your 9-step program, right?
Yeah.
So when we look at the content we're creating, and I think that when I look back to the Chum Trail that we've been discussing, right? People will find value in it on their own.
Yeah.
So where along that line do you feel like you can teach them to come faster, or how can you get them to speed up? What are your thoughts on getting someone to come faster as opposed to stay miles away, on the Chum that we're talking about here?
Yeah, I think So in our model, we always teach you're going to be consistent first. And so consistency is not really measured in terms of quality, but when we can demonstrate consistency in anything, whether it be, eating right, or, go exercising, or getting enough sleep, like if we can demonstrate consistency, then we can move to the next step, which is being correct. And that's where I still have a lot to learn about marketing, but that's where you would implement, okay, now are we doing it the right way? And so, as I read marketing books, and I, talk with guys like you who know what you're doing and know that world, then it's like, okay, am I getting good calls to action? Like, I know that a good call to action is critical. So to bring them along. I also know that Facebook has these weird algorithms where they're going to analyze every word that you put in there, and that's going to give a rating of positive, negative, or neutral. And if it's negative, it's not going to show to as many people as if it were positive. Even the imagery, the pictures that you post, that's measured. But those are all like technical things that help us to be correct. So in order to answer your question, how do we get people to move faster? We do it more correct. We have more of those components. Do we share a story? Are we credible? Do we share data, facts? Do we have that good hook of, that gets their attention in the beginning, and then has a good strong call to action that leads into a funnel or what have you? So, that's where we're at. We're trying to really refine that aspect of it and do things more correct, more often. But we're also still trying to reinforce our foundation of consistency as well.
Yeah. When I love the topic of consistency, especially in marketing, that is definitely one of the biggest drivers to make something successful over the long haul.
Mm-hmm.
But how does a person get away from random? Like that, some people like put out content, like, okay, I gotta be consistent. So I'm putting out just like random stuff. How does a person like really hone in to what is necessary, as opposed to just like, well, I'm talking about a tree today, and I'm talking about my chair tomorrow, and I'm talking about the marketing the next day. Like, it's just like, where are you? How does someone like really refine it and get it to where it's not so randomized and more, because there's consistency of doing it every day, but more of like the message. How do you get closer to that?
Yeah. And so I would say that comes back to the core of your business. What is the mission of your business, and how clear are you on what your business does? And again, like I feel like I'm a pretty good case study for small business, because I have this really long period, probably about the first, year and a half, 2 years, that I look back now and I say, that was entrepreneurial schizophrenia, where I didn't know what I do. And so one week it was like, I'm doing this, and then posting all about it. And then the next week I'm like, no, I don't do that anymore. I'm doing this. And then I'm posting all about that. And that's that randomness that confuses your audience. It confuses the sharks that say, wait a second, am I on the right path? This doesn't smell like fish anymore. This smells like something different. So getting really clear on what your business does then helps you to align your messaging, that then hopefully attracts the right people that can follow, that are more likely to follow those calls to action and end up to where you are, and where they can get the best value and get the help.
I absolutely love that. The more clear you are on your business and what you do to solve people's problems, the more your content, the more the chum you put in the water is going to smell or taste the same in a good way. Not like it's monotonous and boring, but it's like, no, you got to realize, and we have to realize that people are getting tens of thousands of marketing messages every day. And now that everybody's like way more into social media right now during this crazy time, there are more people that are getting more messages. And so if you're not consistent, like you said, with your message, right? If you're not consistent in what you say or what you're about, then the sharks don't know if is that chicken, is that fish, is that beef? What is that? I don't even know what that, like, it's different for them. And that's totally confusing. What is some of the work that you've done to help make sure? I mean, I've enjoyed seeing some of what Chum the Trail, the messages you've put out there, and how it's not the how, it's not the tactic, but how have you really dialed in your message to know what your company's about? Because I feel like I will say our audience, there's a lot of people that are starters and movers and shakers. And so they're going to go on a route for 6 months and find out, I got to switch. And so so how did you refine to where you are now?
Yeah, I think that's the life of the entrepreneur. You're going to have these pivots all along the way where you're like, no, I was pretty sure about this, but now I'm not at all sure about this. And so now I'm coming over here and I'm going to do this. And I think that, I don't know that you can really escape that, really, truly. And you just kind of have to go with it, but be very objective. And so even thinking about, the idea of chumming the trail, like if you never have anybody engage with your stuff, or nobody ever comes to you and says, hey, what about this other thing? And I honestly don't know if that happens, because I see products like a Snuggie, and I see products out there that are just these random things. And I'm like, no, you've got somebody out there who will buy your stuff, and a bunch of people that will buy your stuff. So how do you refine it? I think you really have to ask yourself, what is the value that I add? What are my customers saying? I forget the term, but there's some Gamboa or Gemba. I think it's Gemba. That means go to the floor. Go to the floor and find out what actually happens. And it's usually a term that's used for executives that are sitting in their ivory towers in their office, and they're looking at reports and data and saying, oh, I know exactly what's going on. But they haven't done Gemba. They haven't gotten out and gone to the floor and figured out what's happening. So they want to know, if business owners want to know, they need to go and they ask their clients, hey, why are you with us? What is the value that we offer you? Why have you stuck with us? That will help you define and refine what it is that you do. And that's hard for an entrepreneur and a business owner, because we've got this image of what we do and the mission behind it. We've got all this passion, but sometimes that keeps us from seeing like why people actually buy our product. And so we have to really find those opportunities, go to our people, say, hey, what is it that you like about us? And I've found at times, like, as much as I love my content, at times I've had clients who are just like, oh, I just like talking to you on the phone and having you help me do my to-do list for the next week. Great. They don't love all my, in-depth, well thought out concepts of high performance, but they love the fact that I hold them accountable to do what they say they're going to do. So we've made accountability a really strong part of our business, because that's critical. So I think people have to summarize. I know I can ramble at times. To summarize, I think you need to be able to really recognize what is the value that you think you offer, validate that through your customers, and then message that like crazy.
I love it. And one thing I'd add to that is, if you don't have a ton of clients, even go find people that would be your target client and do some research. Interview them, talk to them, ask them questions, find out about what they're struggling with or stressed out about. And that will definitely give you some insight for those that are watching that are like, man, I only have a handful of them. We'll then go interview some more people that are like your other clients, find out what's going on in their lives and what would be valuable to them. And then that would give you some idea. It's tough. It's an interesting thing, because people want to shift. It goes back to that principle of consistency, both in doing the effort consistently over time, but also knowing what your message is, knowing what you're about, and being consistent with that. Although those entrepreneurs, those business owners out there recognize that you're going to have to pivot. It's not going to be one message for the next 40 years. You're going to likely have to make some shifts. So, Jared, is there anything else you'd like to bring up on this topic that I've really enjoyed?
I think just even kind of dovetailing on that is, I definitely think that you can go and you can have those interviews, but even go to the people who have said no to you. Go to those people who have declined you, who have chosen not to work with you, and just be honest and ask, hey, what are the reasons you didn't? What are some things that we could do that would help win your business? Or what were you looking for that we just don't offer? and asking those kinds of questions, gaining that kind of information so that you can then move your business forward with a little more clarity, a little bit more clarity. And then the other aspect of that is, are you doing things to avoid doing the hard things? And for me, especially as it relates to social media, there have been multiple points where I realized that it's much easier to sit in my office and work on this post for a long time and make sure it's perfect and then send it out, because it's much more comfortable than calling somebody up and saying, hey, we talked last week. Are you any closer to making a decision today? And so we have to be critical. And this is why I think coaches are so valuable, because they're able to see where you're cutting corners a little bit and maybe shying away. So when we think about being consistent, when we think about all of these initiatives, we've got to be doing it with the right passion, the right meaning and intent. And we've got to be super clear that we're not just trying to avoid doing hard things and defaulting to something that's safe and comfortable, because that's a quick way to just spend a ton of money and drive your business right into the ground.
Totally. I think one of the principles I learned a long time ago that still I have to remind myself of is, today I need to spend the majority of my time doing things that make money.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, like that's like, if the majority of my day was not spent in the making of money, then where am I going to be in 3 months? Like you might have done a great job in your business to get it where it is, but if you don't do stuff today consistently that's going to make you money, then that's where you're going to struggle. But I will say, come back to the topic of our discussion, Chum the Trail, that principle makes tons of sense, because if you're consistently doing something that provides value to human beings, then there's going to be a trail of humans that are like, hey, Jared, hey, Brian, hey, like I need some help. I've got a friend that runs this thing and he needs some help. Like it gives you opportunity to have the discussions necessary. And so it's not about everything you do every day has to be, I'm charging people's credit cards. That's but it's about, what am I doing? What am I creating that will make money for my company, make money for my employees, for my team, for my family, for the things I hold dear, as opposed to just, like you said, avoiding. There's a lot of avoidance that happens in business, no matter how big you are.
And you got to trust in your product. Like, if you don't trust in your product, if you can't look yourself in the mirror and say, this is valuable, this is worth what I'm asking for it, then I think you've got to go back to the shed and figure something else out. Just retool and figure something else out, if you really can't look at your product and say that. But if we're being consistent, we're putting stuff out there, we just never know. I had an experience, 3-4 months ago. I had gone through this phase where I was posting a lot. I was putting together some really, really good content. It wasn't getting liked or shared or commented on like all my stuff, but I got this message from a guy who oversaw a large organization over an entire territory. And he's like, hey, I've been reading some of your stuff, wondering if you do these live events and training. So we got on the phone, had a 15-minute conversation. They said, hey, we want to have you come out. I went out, I worked with about 150 leaders in this organization. And what's really cool about it is, one, it took me probably an hour to do that post, the post that finally pushed him over the edge, right? And then a 15-minute phone call. He had been following that trail for so long that when it was time to actually like pull the trigger, he was able to do it because he had seen this consistency in both just me, but also in the value that we're adding. So then I go in and we're in person, and every single time this guy introduced me to different types of groups, he was like, yeah, I've actually been sharing his posts from Instagram and Facebook and da-da-da-da. And the whole time in my mind, I'm having that same conversation. You never liked it. You never commented on it. But here I am now working with this really well-known large organization as a result of those, maybe in a, small efforts. But I think that's the reality is, we've got to, one, believe in our product, know what we offer, create and make sure that we've got the good, consistent messaging, and then people will find you. If what you do is valuable, people will find you, even if they're just exactly like you. If you're building a product for yourself, I think there's so many people in the world that they'll find you for sure.
I love it. The thing that's wonderful about our conversation today is that when it comes down to consistency, if you can be consistent in the effort on over time, and you can be consistent in your message, like what you want to say, that's what provides the Chum the Trail principle. That's what provides the opportunity to have discussions with people that matter. And that's, if we focus on that and we do that, we're going to find good results. We can't control what happens outside of us. We can't control other people. But if we control our own consistency on those two factors, that's where the rubber meets the road, and you start seeing the results some way, even in a way you didn't expect, at the gym with a guy.
Amen.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here with us on another episode of The Marketing Lot, Jared. Glad to have you with us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Brian. It was awesome.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of The Marketing Lot, and that you will use the tactics to be able to improve your business today. Now, just for staying to the end, I have a special free gift for you that is my ultimate guide to your audience message. It's a program that I created to help business owners really dial in who they're speaking to. If you don't understand your audience, if you don't understand who they are, or how they operate, or what's going on in their lives, then it's very, very hard to market to them. In addition, if you don't know what to say and how to say it to them, that's also very difficult. So you go through this course and you'll learn how to talk to your audience the right way and get your message across. So it is a $97 program, which you're getting absolutely free just for watching this episode of The Marketing Lot. So go ahead and use the promo code on this page and you can get the ultimate guide to your audience and message free of charge today. Thank you for participating. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.